Welcome to this next video of my Closet 2.0 series. In this video, I'm painting the cabinets and I'm using my Fuji Semi-PRO 2. If you're new to turbine-based spraying or you're thinking about a Semi-PRO 2, it's a great gun to start with. Pretty straightforward to use. I'll go over setting up this one and a few tips that I think are useful if you haven't done much spraying with the Semi-PRO 2 before. Fuji sells a series of different cap sets that you get for the gun. I'm using the 2.0 cap set, and this is for spraying something like this cabinet coat. You're going to want to use a 1.8 or a 2.0 cap set, and even with those I still thin about 10%. To set up the gun for spraying, I'm not sure what the name of this is. I think it acts like a concentrator for the air coming up. Put that in first, then you screw in the fluid nozzle. Use the Fuji tool to tighten it down. Just need to snug it up. It does not need to be super tight. Air cap goes on. The air cap will tell you what the size of the cap set is. I don't know if you can see that, it says 2.0 on there. And then the collar. And that's the front part of the gun. You don't want to tighten that too much because you want to be able to change the way that the material's coming out the fan. On the back end, you need to put the needle in. It goes in right in the back. And before you put the needle in, you want to put a couple drops of oil on the needle, not near the top. And then carefully put the needle into the hole. Just gently push it in. It should slide right in. And then you can see the tip of the needle coming out in the fluid nozzle. And the last thing to do is to put the spring and the fluid control nozzle on the back. And that's it for setting up the gun. Now if you're spraying with the 3M system like I do, you're also going to have to add the adapter for the cup. That just screws right on the top. Again, that doesn't need to be super tight. So after you've attached the adapter, setting up the cups is really straightforward. They come with a plastic housing, and that's what you'll attach your air hose to right here. So the cup will be pressurized. They come with liners, and that's what you're going to fill up your material with. And then a cap, which also has a filter in it. It's right in the top. Now, once you've put it all together, and you want to make sure that that cap snaps right into that liner. You don't want to have any leaks there. And then to attach the gun to the top of the liner, you basically are just going to put the adapter in and then turn it a third of a turn. And that'll catch on these plastic retaining lips on the top of the liner. Last thing to do is hook up your hose. And you just want to keep it out of the way of the trigger. Like that. So if your project requires more material than you can fit in one of the smaller cups and you don't want to go to the larger cup, what I find useful is to keep a separate cup. This is just a plastic housing. I'll put my paint in here, already thinned, ready to spray, and then I can just put the lid on. There we go. And then I can put one of these caps in the top of it, spray till it's empty, take off the hose, take off the gun. This is where it's really useful if you have a bucket, because you can just hook your gun on the bucket and then take out this liner, You can put the cap in that so that it won't dry out before you can clean it up after you're done spraying. And then grab the second one, put it in, screw it back in, and then just attach your adapter to the top and hook back up your air hose, and you're ready to go. Now, a bucket is also useful to keep around for cleanup. I like to drape a rag over the top of the bucket and spray a couple containers of water through the gun, which will clean out the adapter and the top part of the gun before I take it to my utility sink to actually give everything a good scrub. I also like keeping around something, whether it's a paintbrush or a foam brush, that I can use to get anything that settles into the paint, or if I spray too heavy of an area, especially on a vertical surface, and I'm getting a run, I can just, before it sets up, I can just kind of smooth it out. Now, setting up the turbine before you start spraying is easy. There are two different filters that you use for the turbine. One of them is a coarse filter. I don't know if you can see the difference between these. And one of them is a fine filter. The easy way to tell which one goes on which side is the fine filter goes on the side with the F in Fuji. So fine filter will go on the left and the coarse filter will go on the right. And it's just a friction fit. They just slide in. Just like that. I find it useful to have extra filters, and I have a couple extra sets, because what I found was when I wash them or clean them in the evening, sometimes they wouldn't get dry by the next day when I wanted to spray. So I always have extra filters that I can use so that I always have a dry, clean set to put in the turbine. I keep my turbine as far away from what I'm spraying as possible, and sometimes it's in a different room. And a very handy item is to have a remote on-off for the turbine. I just borrow the one that I use for my dust collector because I'm never running these two guys at the same time. And this is just a cheap one I found on Amazon that works just fine. Connect the turbine to the gun. I'm just using the hose that I got with the sprayer. There's a gasket in here that does the job of sealing it, so this is just hand tight. And on the other end, I have the whip hose. This did not come with the sprayer. This is the second one that I bought. The last one, I had covered up splits in the hose with duct tape to the point where I had so much duct tape on it. And finally, I could feel underneath the duct tape that the hose actually split. So at that point, I got rid of the hose, bought a new one. Now I leave the air volume control completely open. I've never changed that. It's always been that way as long as I've been spraying with this gun. Once you have the whip hose connected, it just fits on the gun like that, and then you're ready to spray. Well, that's it for setting up the Fuji Semi-PRO 2 and the 3M PPS 2.0 cup system. I hope you found something useful, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, like this video, and use my affiliate links. It really does help out a lot. And now it's time to jump back into the closet and get a couple coats of cabinet coat sprayed. So when you're spraying, you definitely want to make sure that you're protecting your lungs and your eyes. I like to keep the charcoal filters that go with this in plastic bags because exposure to air will shorten the life of your charcoal filter. So I've sanded everything with one of these 3M fine sanding pads, and then I shot back all the dust up. These work really well to clear off the overspray, take off any little imperfections in the coat, and get you ready for the next coat. So for this second coat, I'm going to go ahead and spray with the 13.5 ounce, the smaller cup size on the upper cabinets, and then the larger cup size on the lower cabinets. I found it hard to maneuver the larger cup in the smaller cabinets on top of, while I'm on the ladder and trying to spray upside down. It was just kind of a pain. I think with this smaller cup size, it'll be easier. And if I break it down into just doing the upper cabinets, and then I'll do the lower cabinets and swap the cups. Now, I have 2 full cups of paint for each one of these, and these are already diluted 10%. So this allows me to spray this till it's empty, and then just put this one in, and then spray this one till it's empty before I need to mix up additional paint. The same thing with the smaller cups. So I'm going to give this a try and see how well it works. At the very least, it'll allow me to get the ladder out after I'm done with the upper cabinets, and that's one less thing to be jockeying around in here. Well, that wraps up this video. Stay tuned for the cabinet drawer fronts and some close-up shots of the cabinet coat finish. Spoiler alert, it's amazing. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel and like and share this video, and I'll see you in the next one.